They stood in my kitchen, the kitchen where I raised 3 children, canned tomatoes every August for 40 years, and buried my husband's ashes in the garden out back. And they told me I was no longer fit to live alone. My own son said those words to my face while his wife stood behind him nodding like a puppet on a string. What they didn't know was that I had already found the folder hidden in my son's briefcase 3 weeks earlier. The folder with my house listed for sale. The folder with my name forged on it. And what they really didn't know was that a 71-year-old woman with nothing left to lose and 40 years of patience is the most dangerous person you will ever underestimate. Before I tell you what I did to them, I want to say hello properly. My name is Virginia, I am 71 years old. And if this is your first time hearing one of my stories, welcome. If you're enjoying it, hit that like button and please subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in my life, because trust me, it does not stop being interesting. And I would love to know, in the comments, tell me where in the world you are watching this from tonight. I read every single one of them with my coffee in the morning, and it means more to me than you know that people all over the world are sitting down to listen to an old woman tell her story. Now, let me back up and tell you how we got to that kitchen. My husband Walter passed 6 years ago. Heart attack, sudden, no warning, just gone one Tuesday afternoon while he was fixing the gutter. We were married 44 years. After he died, I stayed in our house, the house we bought in 1979 for $18,000, paid off in full by the time I turned 50. It's not a mansion. It's a modest 3-bedroom with a wraparound porch and a garden Walter and I built with our own hands. But it is mine, free and clear, and in this economy, that little house is worth close to $400,000 now. That number matters. Remember that number. I have one son. I'll call him Craig because that's not his real name, but you'll understand soon enough why I'm careful about details. Craig is 50 years old, married to a woman I'll call Kimberly. They have 2 grown children of their own. For years, Craig and I had what I thought was a normal relationship. Sunday phone calls, holidays together, the occasional visit. Not close, not distant. Just family. About a year ago, Kimberly started coming around more. Bringing casseroles I didn't ask for. Asking pointed questions about my health, my memory, whether I'd been to the doctor lately. At first I thought, how sweet, my daughter-in-law is finally warming up to me. I was flattered. I was, God help me, grateful for the attention. A widow gets lonely, and loneliness makes you soft in the head about people's intentions. I know that now. Then the questions changed shape. Mom, have you thought about what happens to the house if something happens to you? Mom, wouldn't it be easier if we just added Craig's name to the deed just in case? Mom, you've been getting a little forgetful lately, don't you think? I want to be very clear with you watching this, I was not forgetful. I balanced my own checkbook. I drove myself to church every Sunday. I did the crossword in ink, not pencil, because I don't need the eraser. But when someone tells you enough times that you're slipping, a small doubting voice starts to grow in the back of your own mind. That is the first trick they play. They make you doubt yourself before they even make their move. The move came on a Thursday in March. Craig called and said he and Kimberly wanted to take me to lunch just to talk. I should have known something was wrong because Craig never once in 50 years initiated a lunch date with his mother without a reason attached. We went to a nice place, the kind with cloth napkins, which should have tipped me off too. They were softening the blow with linen. Over salad, Kimberly slid a folder across the table. Inside was paperwork for something called a voluntary guardianship consultation, and a brochure for a place called Sunnybrook Senior Living. Craig said, very gently, very rehearsed, that they'd been worried about me, that living alone at my age was a liability, and that it would give everyone peace of mind if I considered moving somewhere more supported. He said the word peace of mind 3 times. I counted. A person only repeats a phrase that many times when they've practiced it in a mirror. I smiled, folded the brochure, and told them I would think about it. I am from a generation of women who learned a long time ago that when a man is trying to corner you, the smartest thing you can do is smile, and buy yourself time. I went home. I did not sleep that night. The next morning I called my late husband's cousin, a retired paralegal named Louise who I hadn't spoken to in 2 years, and I asked her one question. Louise, if my son wanted to have me declared incompetent, what would that process even look like? Louise, bless her, did not sugarcoat it. She told me that guardianship proceedings can absolutely be initiated by an adult child, that it requires medical evaluations, and that if granted, a guardian gets legal control over a person's finances and property. She also told me something I will never forget. Virginia, if they're already talking about senior living brochures over lunch, they've already started building a case. You need to find out what they have. That sentence changed everything. I stopped being a grieving widow waiting to be told what to do, and I became a detective in my own life. I started paying closer attention. I noticed Craig had started stopping by just to check the gutters or just to see if the furnace was working, always with his laptop bag, always disappearing into what used to be Walter's home office for 20-30 minutes at a time. I noticed my mail seemed to arrive later than usual, sometimes already looking a little worn at the edges, like it had been opened and resealed. I noticed that Kimberly had started asking me, very casually, about the name of my bank and whether I still had a financial advisor. One Tuesday, Craig came by to check the furnace and left his laptop bag on the kitchen table, while he went down to the basement. I am 71, not stupid and not slow. I opened that bag. Inside was a folder, the folder I mentioned at the start of this story. Inside that folder was a listing agreement with a local real estate agency, my address on it, a signature at the bottom that was supposed to be mine, and it was not my signature. I have signed my name Virginia my entire adult life. I know exactly what my own handwriting looks like, and that signature was close but wrong. The V curled the wrong direction. My son and his wife had forged my name on a real estate listing agreement to sell my house out from under me. I did not scream. I did not confront him right then, standing in my own kitchen with my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Instead, I did something I am very proud of. I took my phone, and with shaking hands I photographed every single page of that folder. Then I put it back exactly as I found it, zipped the bag and sat back down at my kitchen table like nothing had happened. Right as Craig came back up from the basement telling me the furnace looked fine. That night I called Louise again, and this time I asked her for a real recommendation, a real elder law attorney, someone who specialized in exactly this kind of family situation. Louise gave me a name, a woman I'll call Attorney Bennett, who had 30 years of experience and, as Louise put it, has seen every trick greedy children try to pull on their aging parents, and she does not play nice. I met with Attorney Bennett 3 days later. I brought the photographs. I brought my bank statements. I brought a notebook where I had, without even fully realizing what I was doing, started keeping a log of every strange visit, every odd question, every casserole that came with an agenda attached. Attorney Bennett looked through everything, was quiet for a long moment, and then said something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Virginia, you are sharper than 90% of the clients I see, and they are all 40 years younger than you. Let's make sure they know that too. Here is what we did. First, Attorney Bennett drafted an ironclad new will and a durable power of attorney naming a neutral third party, a professional fiduciary, not a single family member, to handle my affairs if I were ever truly incapacitated. This immediately took away any incentive for a rushed guardianship filing, because there would be no easy prize waiting on the other side. Second, we filed a formal complaint with the State Real Estate Commission regarding the forged listing agreement, along with the photographic evidence, which put the real estate agency itself in a very uncomfortable legal position, and forced them to cooperate with the investigation rather than protect their client. Third, and this is the part one I'm proudest of, Attorney Bennett suggested I request a full, formal cognitive and medical evaluation from my own doctor, on my own terms, scheduled and documented before Craig and Kimberly could ever file anything themselves. I passed with what my doctor called excellent cognitive function for any age. That report went straight into a file that would make any future guardianship claim look exactly like what it was. A money grab dressed up as concern. Then I did the thing that I know some of you watching will say was risky, but at 71 years old, I have decided I no longer have the patience for quiet suffering. I invited Craig and Kimberly to Sunday dinner. The same dinner table where I had fed that boy his entire childhood. I made a roast. I set the table with Walter's mother's china, the good china, the china we only use for real occasions. And when they sat down, before we even said grace, I placed a folder of my own on the table. Inside were copies of the forged listing agreement, the Real Estate Commission complaint number, my new estate documents naming a professional fiduciary instead of either of them, and my doctor's full cognitive evaluation. I watched the color drain out of both of their faces in real time. Kimberly actually reached for her water glass and knocked it over. Craig, my son, the boy I nursed through chicken pox and taught to ride a bicycle down our very street, could not look me in the eye. I did not raise my voice. I want you to understand that. I did not scream, I did not cry, I did not throw the roast at the wall, though Lord knows some version of me wanted to. I simply said, I know what you tried to do. I know about the listing agreement with my forged signature. I know about the guardianship consultation. And I want you both to know that it did not work, and it never will, because I have made sure, legally and permanently, that this house and everything I own will never fall into either of your hands through deceit. If you had simply asked me for help, if you had simply been honest and said you were struggling financially, I would have moved mountains for you. Instead, you tried to steal from a woman who raised you. That is a choice you will have to live with, not me. Craig tried to say it was Kimberly's idea. Kimberly tried to say it was for my own good. I let them talk themselves in circles for a few minutes, and then I asked them both to leave my house. Not screaming. Not dramatic. Just quiet and absolutely final, the way only a mother who has run out of illusions can be. The Real Estate Commission investigation confirmed the forgery within 6 weeks. The agent who took the listing without properly verifying my identity lost his license. Craig was never criminally charged because I chose in the end not to press it that far, not for his sake, but because Walter would not have wanted his grandchildren to watch their father go to court over this. But the guardianship threat evaporated completely, because there was nothing left to build a case on. My doctor's evaluation, my new legal documents, all of it stood like a wall around me that no lawyer on their side could ever climb. It has been 8 months now. Craig has reached out twice, both times with apologies that sounded more like negotiations than remorse. I have not let either of them back into my home. My daughter, who lives 2 states away and had no idea any of this was happening, drove down the very week she found out and sat with me on my porch and cried and said, "Mom, I am so sorry we weren't paying closer attention." She didn't need to apologize. None of this was her fault. It wasn't even entirely Craig's fault, if I'm honest. Greed does strange things to people, and Kimberly's fingerprints were all over that folder in ways I still don't fully understand and may never. What I want you to take from my story, whoever you are, wherever you're watching this from tonight, is this: age is not the same thing as weakness. The world likes to treat women my age as though we have gone soft, as though 71 years of living somehow erase 71 years of learning how people behave when they think you're not paying attention. I raised 3 children. I ran a household on 1 income for a decade when Walter was between jobs. I buried a husband and kept my own name on my own deed. I was never going to be the easy mark they thought I was. If you are watching this and you are older, and someone in your own family has started asking a few too many pointed questions about your health, your memory, or your house, please listen to an old woman. Get your own documents in order before anyone else tries to get there first. Talk to an attorney who works only for you. Keep your own records. Trust your gut, even when it whispers something you don't want to hear about people you love. And if you are watching this and you are younger, and you love your aging parents, call them. Not to ask about their will. Not to ask about the house. Just call them and ask how they're doing and mean it. Because the difference between a family and a scheme is nothing more complicated than honesty, and it costs you nothing at all. Thank you for sitting with me tonight and letting an old woman tell her story. If it moved you, please like this video, subscribe for more, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.